So 5-speed here, automatic here. This automatic's got this plate in the middle. And I mean, you can kind of trim it or something if you want to do that, but it's not worth the hassle. You're going to have to come all the way around down to here and do the same here. There's really no room under here to get that strip, and if you do a bunch of cutting, you're going to notice it down here in the park or the first. So you're not getting anything by spending all this time grinding all this crap out and cutting plastic. Just make 2 strips. So put one around here, put one around here. And 5-speed guys, if you want to use a single strip, you'll come around and kind of bow it under. Let me show you. Like that. So you're coming in one side and going out the other. So go around, come back out. You can do it with 1 strip. The power connections are easy. Whether you do 1 or 2, just make sure you note that the bottom is positive, the top is negative. Same over here. Bottom positive, top negative. Hook your LEDs to that, the way LEDs are supposed to be hooked up, positive, negative, and you're good to go. Notice some of these are facing the opposite direction. Some of these flip, and not all of these are that polarity. Some of them are top positive, bottom negative, like this one. And this one over here is a little bit easier to just get a hold of because you're coming in the cluster from the side. So positive, negative, positive, negative. That's how you hook up your strips. You're good to go. You know, we spent all that time making these, diffusing them, angling them, cutting them, putting resistors on them, trying to get them to hit just right. You had to sit here and move these things around, 4 LEDs each. It's a real pain in the butt. I mean, it was super labor intensive. For the consumer, it was a good bargain because nobody in their right mind would sit there and do that much work for as little money as a 32 cost back in the day. But you got your money's worth, I'll tell you that. And these LED strips are pretty dependable. They seem to last longer than the single LEDs do. So if you do put these strips in and you have a failure, you can just take the whole strip out and put another one in. Plus with the dimmer, these strips will work off your factory dimmer and they'll work off of this. So you can see down here is dim and bright. Now you can get your remote out, you can dim these things down, and just make sure that eye is there. So you can also, which way is this face? This way. Change the color of them. So the strips are the way to go. We did not have these back in the day. That would have been awesome if we did. 15 bucks off of eBay shipped, and you've got yourself a remote control, any color. You can make them dance, you can sequence them, do anything you want to do. You can program them to be blue at night and red during the day, or vice versa. So really cool. The technology is awesome. Much different from back in the day. That's just progress of technology. So I recommend doing the back strips for the LEDs. As I've shown you, use what I've shown you here for voltage. And you can use the factory dimmer or you can use the remote dimmer. Next, I'll show you how to do needles. That's a bit more involved. LEDs have gotten a lot brighter since they used to be. So you can really get a super bright needle now out of a single LED. And I'll show you how to make those next. It's not super easy, but you can do it if you're willing to. Backlight though, I feel like anybody can do this. Needles are a little more technical. Another thing I'm going to have to teach you about, these boards have small resistors and capacitors and a couple of IC chips on them. And those little tiny capacitors right there, that one sticking up, that one's sticking up. These little tiny capacitors go bad, and it causes your speed and your tack to quit working. And these need to be replaced. If you don't replace them, you will eventually have a gauge that stops moving. So that's another thing to take into account. When you go in and you start doing work, there's other things that need to be done just besides lighting. These clusters are very old, and a lot of stuff needs to be done to keep them working. So we'll go into it further along I'm going to keep making some DIYs and teaching you guys how to make these clusters light up the best way. This is a method that has been proven. This is the actual last time that Lextech functioned as a working entity before it was sold was with this design, and it was way better than the original setup, 15 years ago. So this is a clear plexi piece that I made back 15 years ago so I could see what the LEDs were doing as I was installing them. You can see how that goes. Let me turn the light out. Okay, see how this is spreading light out inside of here, and you can take and actually put it on backwards like this, and you can see how the light is spreading and make any adjustments that's necessary. But as you can see, these strips are really bright. You don't have to do anything but put them in. So this is a fabulous thing. I wish we had this technology back in the day. Clusters would have been a lot cheaper and a lot easier to do, and most people could have done it themselves. Wasn't the case back when, 2010, 2005, 2003 especially, when Lextech was actually made. You didn't have options like this. You had to do this. Big pain in the butt. Took 40 hours to do the work. Super labor intensive. Now it's very easy and very cheap. I'll teach you how to do needles next, so stay tuned.